January 15th, 2022. A routine Saturday in the South Pacific became the day nature showed its true power. The explosion was heard 6,000 miles away. A shockwave circled the planet, twice, and then the ocean rose. But that was only the beginning. What started as a volcanic eruption turned into a disaster that threatened to erase an entire nation from the map. The first warning signs appeared on December 20th, 2021, almost a month before the catastrophe. In the Kingdom of Tonga, a chain of 169 islands scattered across the South Pacific, life moved peacefully. Fishermen cast their nets. Families gathered for prayer. Children played on beaches. But 40 miles north of the capital, Nuku'alofa, something ancient was stirring beneath the waves. Hunga Tonga Hunga Ha'apai, a submarine volcano that had been quietly simmering for years. On December 20th, 2021 at 5:15 in the afternoon, the volcano erupted for the first time in 5 years. Ash and steam rocketed 40,000 feet into the sky. Scientists at the Tonga Geological Services immediately began monitoring the activity. This was concerning, but not unusual. The volcano had erupted before in 2009, 2014, and 2015. Each time, it settled back into dormancy. But this time was different. For 3 weeks, the volcano refused to sleep. Small eruptions every few days. Steam plumes rising into the air. Minor tremors rattling windows at night. Scientists monitored seismic activity, but nothing suggested catastrophe. On January 13th, 2022, another significant eruption sent ash across inhabited islands. Flights were disrupted. The government issued warnings to stay away from the area. Still, there was no panic. Tonga sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire. Earthquakes and volcanic eruptions are facts of life here. You learn to live with them, you prepare, but you do not live in constant fear. Saturday, January 15th, dawned clear and warm. Markets opened, churches prepared for services. No one knew that in less than 12 hours, everything would change. January 15th, 2022, 4:15 a.m. local time. The volcano erupted again, stronger this time, much stronger. Ash climbed to 65,000 feet. Lightning began crackling through the volcanic plume, a phenomenon called a dirty thunderstorm. Tongans woke to distant thunder and saw an eerie orange glow on the horizon. The day continued normally. Markets opened, children played, families made plans for Sunday. Then, at 5:26 p.m., the Earth itself seemed to tear apart. The volcano exploded with unimaginable violence. The eruption released energy equivalent to 100 megatons of TNT, 4 to 5 times more powerful than the largest nuclear weapon ever detonated. The explosion column shot 36 miles into the sky, punching into the mesosphere. Higher than Mount Pinatubo, higher than any eruption in the satellite era. The plume spread outward, forming a massive cloud over 200 miles in diameter. In Alaska, 6,000 miles away, people heard it. In New Zealand, 1,400 miles southwest, residents reported loud bangs. In Fiji, windows rattled. Dogs howled, birds took flight in panic. The explosion created a shockwave that traveled at the speed of sound. Atmospheric sensors detected it racing across the globe, over Australia, across Asia, into Europe, across Africa, over the Atlantic, and across the Americas. The shockwave circled the entire Earth, twice. But the real danger wasn't the sound. It was what the explosion did to the ocean. The eruption displaced billions of gallons of seawater. The ocean above the volcano was literally blown into the sky. A tsunami was born, moving faster than a jet plane. 5:30 p.m. In Tonga's capital, Nuku'alofa, tsunami sirens wailed across the city, but many couldn't hear them over the roar of the eruption. People ran, grabbing children, pulling elderly relatives, heading for higher ground. There was no time to pack, no time to grab valuables. Just run. 5:45 p.m. 15 minutes after the explosion, the first wave hit Tongatapu, Tonga's main island. The ocean didn't rise slowly, it surged. A violent wall of water pushed inland with terrifying speed, climbing over seawalls, sweeping through streets, crashing through homes. Cars were tossed like toys. Buildings collapsed, and the wave kept coming. In the village of Konokupolu on the western coast, waves reached over 40 feet high. Entire homes were ripped from their foundations. Families clung to trees, to roofs, to each other. But Tonga wasn't alone. The tsunami was spreading across the Pacific. 6:15 p.m. Tsunami warnings were issued across the Pacific Basin for New Zealand, Australia, Japan, and the United States West Coast. In Fiji, 500 miles from Tonga, waves reached 6 feet. In Japan, over 5,000 miles away, Tsunami waves reached over 3 feet. Coastal communities evacuated. On the west coast of the United States, waves reached 4 feet in Santa Cruz, California, destroying boats and damaging docks. In Peru, 2 women drowned. The tsunami had crossed the entire Pacific Ocean in hours. But back in Tonga, a different nightmare was beginning. January 16, 2022. Dawn broke over Tonga to reveal a transformed landscape. The 2 small islands that once sat above the volcano had vanished, swallowed by the sea, erased from the map. Ash blanketed everything. Thick, gray powder covered roads, roofs, crops, water supplies. The air was difficult to breathe. But worse than the destruction was the silence. The eruption had severed Tonga's only undersea fiber optic cable. Tonga went dark. For 36 hours, no one knew what had happened. The international community could only watch satellite images and wonder how many were dead. Military aircraft scrambled to conduct reconnaissance flights. When the images came back, the devastation was clear. Entire villages on outer islands had been wiped out. On Mango, nearly every structure was destroyed. On Nomuka, the waves had swept across the entire island. 3 people were confirmed dead. A British woman named Angela Glover was swept away while trying to save her dogs. 2 Tongan nationals did not make it to higher ground. 3 deaths. In a disaster of this magnitude, that number was miraculous. How had Tonga avoided catastrophic loss of life? The answer lay in preparation. In 2009, a tsunami killed 189 people across Samoa, American Samoa, and Tonga. The devastation was immense. In the aftermath, the Tongan government made a decision. This would never happen again. Tsunami sirens were installed, evacuation routes were mapped, community drills were conducted, school children practiced evacuations. Everyone learned the rule: if you hear the sirens, don't wait, just run. This culture of preparedness saved hundreds, possibly thousands of lives on January 15, 2022. When the sirens sounded, people did not hesitate. They did not wait for confirmation. They ran. Entire villages evacuated within minutes. That instinct, that preparation, made the difference between tragedy and catastrophe. But survival came at a tremendous cost. January 18, 2022. 3 days after the eruption, the first aid flights arrived. New Zealand and Australian military aircraft landed carrying emergency supplies. Water, food, medical supplies, tarps for shelter. These were first aid deliveries on a massive scale. But there was a complication. Tonga had remained COVID-free throughout the pandemic. The government was determined to keep it that way. All aid deliveries were conducted with strict contactless protocols. Supplies sat on the tarmac for 72 hours before distribution. It slowed the response, but it protected the population. The damage was staggering. Over 1,800 homes were damaged or destroyed. Roads were buried under ash. Crops were ruined. Water supplies were poisoned. The economic cost was over $90 million. For a nation with a gross domestic product of only $450 million, this was catastrophic. But Tongans did not wait. Within hours, survivors were clearing debris. Communities were sharing food and water. Churches became distribution centers. There was no looting, no panic, just people taking care of each other. While Tonga rebuilt, scientists tried to understand what had happened. The explosion created a shockwave that circled the Earth. Twice. Atmospheric sensors tracked it propagating around the globe in real time. But the shockwave wasn't the most unusual part. The eruption injected 146 million tons of water vapor into the stratosphere. That's 10% of all the water already there. No volcanic eruption in recorded history had ever put that much water into the upper atmosphere. Most volcanic eruptions cool the planet by injecting sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. But Hunga Tonga did the opposite. The massive amount of water vapor, a greenhouse gas, is expected to slightly warm the planet over the next several years. The eruption also created over 400,000 lightning strikes in just 6 hours. The dirty thunderstorm was visible from space. The sound was detected by sensors all over the planet. It may have been the loudest natural event since the 1883 eruption of Krakatoa. But the most disturbing discovery came months later. Submarine surveys revealed the volcano's new shape. The islands were gone, collapsed into a massive caldera. The caldera was not dormant. It was still active. Underwater sensors detected heat signatures, gas emissions, small earthquakes. The volcano was recharging. Scientists studying the volcano's history made a troubling discovery. Hunga Tonga erupts on a cycle. Major eruptions occur roughly every 900 to 1,000 years. The last one before 2022 was around the year 1100 AD, almost exactly 900 years ago. The 2022 eruption was not an anomaly. It was the volcano following its natural rhythm. And it will erupt again. Today, in 2024, Tonga has largely recovered. The undersea cable has been repaired. Homes have been rebuilt. Crops are growing again. But memorials now stand in villages across the islands, remembering January 15, 2022. The volcano remains active, monitored constantly by scientists, and the people of Tonga live with the knowledge that beneath them, a giant sleeps. A giant that will wake again. But they are not afraid. They are prepared. The eruption of Hunga Tonga was the largest volcanic event of the 21st century. It created a tsunami that crossed an entire ocean. It cut off an entire nation from the world. But it did not break them. 3 people died that day. Their loss is mourned. But thousands survived. Thousands who might have died without preparation, without warning systems, without the simple human instinct to help each other. And when the volcano erupts again, centuries from now, whoever lives there will face it the same way, with preparation and community. The earth will shake again. The ocean will rise. But the human spirit, that never breaks.